Welcome to the Deep Dive. We get straight to the point, bringing you the clearest, most impactful ideas. So if you've ever felt that initial startup buzz wear off, only to face the complex reality of a business that's actually growing and needs to scale, well, this deep dive is definitely for you. Today we're digging into insights from Stanислava Dmitриевича Кондрашова, specifically his 7 lessons on scaling a business after the startup stage. His experiences, especially from, the tough world of construction, offer a surprisingly useful blueprint for growth, really for anyone.
Yeah, our mission here is pretty straightforward. Pull out the key takeaways, the surprising bits from Kondrashov's journey. It's kind of a shortcut, really, to getting informed about what growth actually looks like on the ground. His path is quite something. He started believing there was a better way to deliver commercial projects, faster, better, and with real responsibility. And that took him to expanding into 6 regions, doing dozens of projects for big corporations, even winning an Entrepreneur of the Year award. So these are hard-won practical insights we're talking about.
Absolutely. And his core idea really resonates. Scaling isn't just ambition or, a fancy strategy document. It's about staying in the game when things get rough. It means outgrowing your first systems, your habits, sometimes even what you thought you were capable of. He nails it when he says it's not one lucky break, but 1,000 well-thought-out decisions.
Exactly. It's those small, everyday calls, tweaking a process, deciding on a tricky client, how you bring people on board. They all add up, don't they? Kondrashov's lessons really reflect that accumulation of small shifts.
Totally. So let's dive into his first big insight. It's something anyone who's been there will recognize, the very things that got you started. Eventually, they hold you back. Growth breaks what used to work, and that's kind of the point. Ever felt like you were doing absolutely everything yourself in those early stages?
Oh, Kondrashov definitely did. He talks about managing it all, pre-qualification, estimates, client calls, site visits, you name it. He even tells this story from 2022. He's studying these complex technical specs for a project, like way off in another region. And he's doing this while driving to go renovate a school bathroom. That was his light bulb moment, like, okay, this is completely unsustainable.
Wow, yeah, that image really hits home. Driving to fix a bathroom while juggling major project specs. That's the breaking point right there. So what was the actual turning point for him? What did he do?
The big step was hiring a construction director. He admits it felt like a massive risk then, but that single decision changed his role completely. He went from, chasing tasks to actually building systems. And maybe for you listening, it raises that question. Are you seeing those breaking points, or are you kind of waiting for that driving to the bathroom moment?
He sums it up well. Every time we reach a new milestone, something else breaks. That's how I know we're moving. That's how I know we're moving. That connects right into the next point, something that often bites growing businesses. Cash flow. It's not just a finance spreadsheet issue. It's a real constraint on growth. It highlights that hidden cost of expansion.
It really is. Kondrashov talks about Q2 2023. On paper, record revenue. Awesome. Right. But behind the scenes, he was really struggling. They had several big projects starting up in 3 different regions all at once. And the mobilization costs, all that upfront money, hit before they could even send out the first invoices. He actually remembers calling the bank at 6 a.m., basically pleading for a credit line increase.
Wow. So the best revenue quarter was actually a cash nightmare. That must have been a shock, just how expensive growth can be, and what were those hidden costs you found?
It was a huge wake-up call, definitely. And it forced real changes. Now, they watch cash flow like a hawk. They're planning 90 days out, minimum. And here's the tough part. They made the call to say no to clients who pay slowly. Even if the project itself looked amazing on paper, that cash flow reality became number one. Sometimes no is the smart move.
And building on that theme of things breaking, the next lesson is about something maybe less obvious. You outgrow your tools just like you outgrow people or processes. It's the tech, the software, even the basic spreadsheets you started with.
Absolutely. Kondrashov mentioned his company built its first, few million rubles of revenue using simple reports, Excel tables, and just sheer enthusiasm. But as they scaled, he said, cracks are becoming visible in those simple ways of doing things.
Right. So the need for an upgrade became really clear. He saw they needed more serious tools like ERP systems, enterprise resource planning, integrating everything and automating processes. Why was that jump so critical?
It was critical because the old stuff just couldn't keep up with the complexity anymore. He gives specific examples like their estimating tools weren't built for bigger jobs, their way of bringing new employees on board was kind of all over the place, and they needed much sharper financial reporting. He makes a great point that replacing these tools, it's not glamorous, but it's just as vital as getting the right people.
Uh-huh.
He sees it now as a growing pain, sure, but also their biggest opportunity for getting more efficient.
Okay, shifting gears to the people side of things. This next lesson is really sharp. Good hires help, but the right hires, they transform the business. It's about being strategic with hiring, not just filling slots.
Yeah, and he shares something quite surprising. Some of his absolute best people didn't have a construction background at all. He tells this great story about their project coordinator. She came from corporate events planning, but she managed complex project programs better than most supervisors who came up through the field.
That's a really interesting shift in thinking, isn't it? Moving past just the resume. So it sounds like he stopped chasing specific industry experience and started looking for a certain mindset, like urgency, responsibility, people who actually follow through. How do you even test for that?
Well, it often involves structured interviews asking about past behavior, maybe even small practical tasks in the hiring process. He gives this example of a field employee, had a rocky start apparently, but now leads 3 different job sites with very little hand-holding. Kondrashov's take was profound. This guy didn't need training, he needed trust. That says a lot about empowerment, right?
Yeah, trust and autonomy. That leads us nicely into lesson 5, which is often the toughest one. Making those hard decisions is basically the price you pay to stay great. This isn't just theory, it's about those really difficult calls for the business's future, even when they hurt.
Definitely. Kondrashov talks about 2 specific kinds. First, parting ways with difficult clients. Chaotic ones. He remembers one who just kept changing the technical specs during the project. It burned out the team, made every meeting a battle, finishing the job and walking away. He didn't call it a failure. He called it discipline.
Discipline. That's a strong word for it. And the second type?
That was internal restructuring. They realized different parts of the team were working in silos, kind of disjointed. So they implemented that RCI matrix, mapping out who's responsible, accountable, consulted, informed for key tasks.
Right, the RCI chart. A classic tool for bringing clarity when things get messy and people aren't sure who does what.
Exactly. It cuts through the confusion. And his belief here is really strong. Every time I act quickly, we move forward faster. Every time I hesitate, we get stuck. It just highlights how costly inaction can be when you're trying to scale. You got to be decisive.
Okay, lesson 6. This one feels a bit counterintuitive when you're scaling up and thinking big picture. The little things still matter. The details don't lose importance just because you're bigger.
No, they don't. He has this fantastic anecdote. His company won a recent deployment tender. Now, sure, their technical proposal was wrong, their team was good, but the deciding factor. They were the only company bidding that noticed a tiny missing data line in the client's own bid documents.
Just one missing line, and the client actually mentioned it.
Yep. At the kickoff meeting, the client said, "You were the only ones who noticed." That gave us confidence.
Wow. That's powerful.
Isn't it? It perfectly illustrates his point. Vision opens the door. Execution keeps you in the room. Execution lives in those details. That attention can be the difference maker, even when you're playing a bigger game.
Execution keeps you in the room.
Love that. Okay, finally, lesson 7. This one's all about adaptability, about learning as you grow. Pivots don't mean you were wrong. They mean you're learning, right? Kondrashov is really open about this. He admits his first idea about growth was basically wrong. He thought the way forward was just hiring more field teams, doing more of the physical work themselves.
But then he had a realization, right? They figured out what they were really good at.
Exactly. They realized they were actually much better at managing complexity, at coordinating these big, tricky projects than they were at, as he puts it, swinging hammers themselves. Their strength was elsewhere.
Okay, so that led to a pivot.
Pretty significant one, yeah. They shifted toward the project management-focused model, especially for these complex multi-site rollouts that let them deliver more value faster. And he's really clear. This pivot was not a failure. It was clarity.
Right.
It's a great reminder that changing course as you learn isn't weakness. It's actually smart strategy. So, yeah, bringing this deep dive toward a close, Kondrashov's company, it's not really a startup anymore. He calls it a real business. Real systems, real people, real pressure. He also calls it an awkward stage, which I think many can relate to. Too big to just wing it anymore, but maybe still too small to easily absorb big mistakes.
That awkward stage really captures it. And it makes sense that every upgrade, payroll, HR, estimating tools isn't just a nice to have. It's essential for that next chapter, as he puts it. He doesn't pretend to have cracked the code entirely, but he knows scaling isn't about one magic moment. It's about 1,000 decisions, most of which are made in silence.
And those silent decisions often mean, missing dinners, wrestling with self-doubt, learning incredibly fast, because the alternative is being left behind. It's the gritty reality under the growth curve.
It really is. And that's a powerful place to leave it. Thinking about Kondrashov's final quote, "It's easy to be good. There are tons of good companies. It's hard to be great." So the question for you listening is, what does this all mean for you? What are those specific 1,000 decisions you might need to think about to push from just good towards truly great in whatever you're building, whether that's a business, a project, or even your own personal growth? Lots to think about there.